The Flash 762, Joshua Williamson writing with Howard Porter on the art. So this is the end of the run in terms of the book itself, but it kind of feels like Speed Metal is the real final issue. If anything, I would say Speed Metal issue 1 should probably be in the trade, even though it's kind of a weird
you
thing
could
to
make
add
it as
on.
a capper.
Yeah.
You know?
It does feel a little bit separate, but at the same time, it feels like it should fit.
You know, I was I was reading the West Coast Avengers, and they went and threw in was it the Young Avengers annual? That's the Kate story about how she gets Hawkeye's bow, and it's not really West Coast Avengers. This fits more in. Speed Metal will fit in way more with this trade, a Finish Line, than that did. So just do it.
Yeah. It starts with the lightning striking on Barry. Once again, it's not quite at the level of Batman's parents dying, or even Flash's mum dying. Now that I think about it, but it's something we see again and again. Big 2-page spread. Barry chasing Thawne and the Speed Force and all the rest of it. Ultimately, this story is about Barry kind of sort of realizing that he's in this endless loop with Thawne, so he decides to do something different. So he takes off his mask and he says that he forgives him, and he essentially becomes Thawne's lightning rod, which essentially bounds him back to the laws of physics, because right now he's kind of this paradox that's living on the outside of it.
Yeah, because he keeps dying, but because of his knowledge of the Speed Force and because of almost the metaverse qualities, he's able to overcome death and come back in different forms of himself, which I think is a cool... Because even with how this ends, there could be a Thawne out there somewhere, you know? It's almost kind of like the dark multiverse when you think about it.
Well, there is a Thawne at the end.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm not jumping forward.
Yeah, we can. So Thawne obviously hates this, and then he disintegrates into nothingness because the timeline's kind of like rewriting itself. And we see that in the future, in the 25th century, Eobard Thawne is now the tour guide at the Flash Museum, and basically they find out that the Reverse Flash is in there. He does exist, but now his identity is a secret. It's unknown. And it's this idea that, like, the idea of there was all these stories of battles with some Reverse Flash, but because the timeline has changed, because this Eobard Thawne in the future never becomes Reverse Flash, he's this kind of mystery. He's almost like a myth in that, okay, he's been seen fighting the Flash, and all these big things did happen in the past, but we never actually found out who it was. So I kind of like that idea. I like the idea of turning them into kind of a myth. Not for us, obviously, but for the people of the future.
In the 25th century, yeah. It's kind of that theory of Back to the Future that people... who's the writer of that? I always forget.
Bob Gale?
Thank you, Bob Gale. People are always like, well, how didn't Marty's parents recognize Marty? And someone goes, hey, do you remember your life, 25 years ago, 20 years ago, to the detail of 1 week? It's like, well, no. So this really reminded me of that, of sure, it might be Thawne and something might happen later, but at this point, it's not like it's Flash history. He is that unknown, something kind of happened, but they're not certain. So I kind of do like that it does play with the memory and legacy of the character.
Yeah. There's a sort of montage page where it shows that kind of the timeline's kind of fixed itself. All the villains are back in their own time periods.
Which, I love that that's Williamson's reset. Like, hey, remember all the stuff that I did? Okay, it's back to 1,
Yeah. And that murder that Barry was kind of looking into that happened the night of the storm, or the night of Rebirth, sorry, the night of Wally coming back. It turns out the woman was actually the ancestor of Eobard Thawne, because her husband's name is Thawne, and it's kind of this...
She doesn't go by that name, so he wasn't able to put it together until right now.
Yeah. She finds out that she kept her maiden name, basically.
Right.
And their child is probably the great grandfather of Eobard.
I was like, please don't be Eddie. Like,
begs an interesting question. Did Thawne go back in time and kill his own ancestor?
And maybe that's what created the paradox. I don't know. Is that what he's saying, or is this a different Thawne? Right? Because Thawne's could be a big family, right? So this could be a great uncle. I don't know.
Okay,
you
but
know,
in that case, though, why would he kill her?
right? But why, if he kills her, judging by time travel, he doesn't exist. Except that he does exist, so he doesn't kill her.
Well, he
And I guess that's
he says repeatedly that he's
right.
a paradox.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So how would this ends the paradox? Like, you know what I mean? I don't.
No, it starts
It's one
the
of those timey-wimey.
No, it starts the paradox.
But wouldn't this close the loop of the paradox because Thawne's not going to kill her?
No, I'm saying him killing her is the start of the paradox that was in place.
Right. And I'm saying now, though, that ends the paradox, and that's why he's unknown. Right? That's what Williams is saying.
Well, I mean, the end of the paradox was Barry doing the thing, not this. This is just like the effect that's now here because the paradox didn't happen.
Right. Timey-wimey.
I don't
think about time travel too much.
I don't actually think it's that confusing, but yeah, like this is now here because the paradox isn't happening. We go to a barbecue. The Flash family are all hanging out, but Iris does know that Wally's not there. Also, is Iris wearing a Jason Voorhees shirt? Is that what's happening?
She is.
Yeah. And
I gotta say, this is Williamson really going like, "Hey, I know you love Lois Lane, but why don't you give Iris some love too sometimes?" Because we do know it is established that through Williamson that she does love horror movies, you know. So the idea of her wearing a Jason shirt, which is kind of similar to my Violent Gentleman Jason shirt.
Yeah, well, I questioned it. I thought maybe it's just maybe a hockey top, but it's a very Jason-esque.
It's Jason's markings of his mask. As someone that's contemplating getting a Jason mask tattoo, that is his mask, like without a doubt. But we also know that, well, Linda was the hockey fan on my reread of John's Flash. You know, she was the one that was in the Keystone Combines. So I don't know. Either way, hockey in the Central City, you know, whatever, goes together. Either way, if she's a Jason fan, a hockey fan, I approve.
Oh yeah, of course you do. The tease, I presume this is just for the next writer that's doing the fill-in story. There's a little tease for another villain popping up.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's Barry running off. He kind of talks to his ghost mother. I mean, obviously not really, but
yeah, he's talking as you do with someone that you know passed. You do have conversations. At least I do. But yeah, it was this issue did give me the warm and fuzzies. I said that on Twitter just because it rounds up. It's kind of like Speed Metal the same way. It's everything that I love about the Flash, and it is very forgiving, right? And that's one of his things.
It just ends with him running off to like deal with a thing, like a Flash thing. And Iris is saying, be back soon kind of thing. And the final page is just him, big full page spread of him running through a gallery of all of his front covers, basically. Also,
that villain, that's Dr. Alchemy. So it's not a new villain, but it's a established villain. So
yeah, it felt kind of weirdly tacked on, to be honest. That panel, it was like, why is this here? Especially because when I looked at it again there a second ago, I was like, yeah, this is kind of weirdly just here because nothing else even comes up from it. Which I assume it's just hey, this is what the next writer's doing, so he's being nice and putting in a little panel for it. Which it's fine, whatever. I didn't like this as much as Speed Metal. I thought it was good.
Okay.
I like because you implied when we were talking about Speed Metal that you like this more, and
I don't want to say more. I think on an emotional level, there's parts of Speed Metal that hit, but I do feel like he did stick the landing here with the finish line and stuff that he did with Thawne. So I don't know. It made me feel warm and fuzzy versus Speed Metal, which gave me a lot of fist pumps and made me feel good. But this was, I don't know. I guess that's just the distillation of Barry that I've learned just to accept Barry as the Flash and whatnot. And I feel like this kind of did what Williamson wanted to do. So
no, I mean I liked it. It did feel like a capper to his run. It felt like a kind of a final, like a finality to even just the idea of the Flash as a whole, because it sort of ends the rivalry with Thawne. Of course, the cynical side of me is that as soon as the next writer wants to bring Eobard Thawne back, they'll just mess all this up immediately because they'll make up some reason why he's back again. So it has that kind of sad, jaded quality to it for me, where I'm like, it's just going to be undone the second one writer wants to.
I mean, sure, but at the same time, there are Easter eggs there. We still never got who was in that monitor suit. that was behind Zoom, Hunter Zolomon, and all of that. That was kind of teased, unless that was meant to be Paradox, but those suits are a little bit different, and because then Godspeed took that over. Which also, is Godspeed still running around then?
No, he died.
Because we see his grave. Yeah, but his grave gets ran over, and it doesn't say August anymore, does it?
I'll go back to that page.
Yeah.
It fades away.
Yeah.
So,
which means August might still be out there as a police,
Yeah, I was going to say that doesn't necessarily mean that he's still Godspeed, though. He might not have powers anymore. Although that said, there is a flash of lightning, but I assumed that was Barry because he's running through a lot of these pages or these panels.
Yeah. But yeah. So, I don't know. I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, with the whole Godspeed and it does
notably look less red though. That flash of light, even though all these panels have Barry running through them, and you get the red and the yellow. The lightning on that panel does look a bit more white and gold. So
of Godspeed
could be him. Yeah, possibly.
But yeah, so I just so when it comes out, there's other stuff out there. Like I wouldn't mind seeing Zoom come back through, especially if Wally sticks around, right? Like we get through Death Metal and this new status quo, and I would like to see more of Zoom and kind of that story, what's going on there. But yeah, so
it does notably say that the next issue, the Trickster returns. So I don't even know what the alchemy thing was hinting at. Yeah. So I guess we'll find out in the long run. But no, I think it's good. I think it's a good issue. I think Speed Metal hit more for me though. Maybe because it feels like it's stuff that I've been waiting on for longer. And the Flash run as a whole is kind of this, because there's a little thank you note at the end from Joshua Williamson, and that's cool. Yeah. It's hard not to look at it and go, yeah, I'd have cut out like 40 issues of it. And for the most part, you probably could. Like, you could probably get to just after Flash War and then like just take like the next 3 or 4 trades and just pull them out and just say, read this last one after that, and that'll do you.
Was there anything relevant to the year 1, the forces in the last section?
Just those characters showing up, so like Forza and was it still?
But
Force guy.
When you say they show up though, they're literally in a group shot, and then you see them in them in the barbecue at the end when everyone's there. So it's not like
and they talk about the different forces. So theoretically, you don't. And again, that was him resetting. Him basically hitting this reset switch.
It sounds like it would take very little effort to re-edit a cut of this without them.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not even theoretical. Honestly, like how many times you read a comic book and there's a giant group shot and you just accept there's a handful of them you don't know because you don't know every comic book character because it's possible because there's so bloody many of them.
I'm just saying, like, this, if someone wanted to use the Speed Force stuff, not the Speed Force, the forces of life, you could, and you wouldn't need to go back and read those. You could just jump off with Forza, Steadfast in a teaming up with Barry or whatever, because the whole psychic force isn't there, the mind force, whatever that was called. I don't see that character, so but no, theoretically you wouldn't need it because it's not like the Turtle's a big deal or King Cold, and you can just get rid of that. The whole Renegades Captain Cold thing or Commander Cold. So but no, it's good. I look forward to see what Williamson's working on next. But yeah,
I think I'm a little bit cynical with it. I mean, I liked it, but kind of like the last issue where I said, I felt the formula of, oh, hey, here's a big full page spread of like people returning because we'd done that the previous issue, and it worked really well the previous issue. It was a bit diminished last issue, and in this issue, I kind of feel that okay, it's the typical wiping the slate clean for the next writer, and there's just enough of like. It feels weird, but it feels like the generic end of a run. Does that make sense? Like, not that we do it too often, but it's kind of the generic end of a run.
But you're I think you're really onto something with the Speed Metal. Felt more of like his ending tag because it's more about rebirth, and he started there and ended there. Whereas this feels like just the end of the Flash run. Like he had way more to say in Speed Metal. So I get the cynical take. I don't necessarily subscribe to it, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I guess it feels a bit more like, oh, this is pretty serviceable as an ending, and it's it's got some good moments, and I like seeing everyone together. But I'm not like super enthused by it either. I guess is what I'm saying.
I mean, it made me feel nice, and in 2020, that's the bare minimum. If a book can do that, I'll take it.
All right, what are you giving Flash 7.6 to?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5, just slightly over. Plus Howard Porter art. We didn't talk about Howard Porter, the quintessential, Flash artist.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah,
looks really, really good too. So
yeah, I'll probably go with more like a 7 on this. I think it's good, but not like yell from the rooftops or anything like that. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to when we get to start the next proper run, because we have a couple of fill-in arcs coming up, and then it's tying into Endless Winter. So who knows what it's doing from January onwards? We'll see. Because it's going to be in like a weird holding pattern until we're in the new status quo, whenever that properly hits, and then we'll have a new proper writer.
As someone that's going to collect all of Endless Winter, this is going to mess up my Flash, because I started getting this when I started rereading it was digital, and this is going to mess it all up. So that's fun. I mean, I'll just take it together with Endless Winter, I guess, but I'll know.
Oh well. First world problems, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but that's why you were talking about comics on a show.
True, yes.
So
that is like first world privilege at its finest.
Yeah.